Ready when you are, Candace. Good morning, everyone. We will call the meeting to order this morning at 9:02 a.m. In the true spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge all those who call this land home now and for thousands of years in the past. May we respect each other and find understanding together and recognize the benefits that this land provides to all of us. Before we move down, I have a couple of acknowledgements I'd like to start the meeting off with today. Today we recognize and celebrate the remarkable career of Donna Irwin, who is retiring after 21 years of dedicated service to Lethbridge County. Donna began her journey with the county on January 31st, 2005, and from the very beginning, she became an integral part of the team. She consistently showed up with a positive attitude and a genuine willingness to help wherever she was needed. Her strong work ethic and commitment have left a lasting mark on the organization. What truly sets Donna apart is her exceptional ability to connect with people. She builds relationships rooted in trust, bringing warmth, humor, and compassion. She always has been someone her colleagues can count on, whether to lend a hand, offer a listening ear, or provide steady support. Donna's contributions go far beyond her day-to-day work. She's helped shape a workplace culture that values kindness, teamwork, and respect. The impact she's made will continue to be felt throughout Lethbridge County for years to come. On behalf of Council and the entire organization, we extend our sincere gratitude to Donna for her years of service and dedication. While she will be deeply missed, we wish her all the best in her well-earned retirement. On a personal note, when I was elected to Council in 2017, it was Donna and Lorraine that made the county feel like home. Donna, you helped a young councillor learn the ropes. You were always there to point me in the right direction, to give advice and reassurance. I'm extremely grateful that our paths have crossed. Lethbridge County is so much better off having you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
With all of us?
Yes,
Here, turn your pineapple upside down.
Thank you, everyone. I wanted to make one other note. I would like to congratulate our CAO, Cole Beck. Cole is recognized as part of the 42nd Calgary class of the ICD Rotman Directors Education Program. With more than 18,000 members and a network of 11 chapters across Canada, the Institute of Corporate Directors, ICD, is the voice of Canadian directors and their boards. As a not-for-profit, member-based organization, the ICD delivers best-in-class governance, education, thought leadership, and resources. This creates opportunities for members to network within the director's community. Attaining the ICD designation is no small task. There's a large commitment of self-study and classroom time while managing all your other obligations at work and home. On behalf of Council, congratulations on your accomplishment, Cole. We are grateful for your commitment to personal development and bettering Lethbridge County. Thank you. And with that, we can move down into our agendas, down on our agenda to the adoption of the agenda. Are there any proposed additions, deletions, anything coming from the agenda? Jeez. Eric, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move the agenda as presented.
Eric has moved to adopt the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Before you, you have the County Council meeting minutes of April 2nd, 2026. Are there any errors or omissions, any issues arising from the minutes? John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move to adopt the minutes as presented.
Thank you, John. John has moved for the adoption of the minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? I'll call a question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. I should have noted off the top, Councillor Hickey is traveling on behalf of Green Acres and is at a conference this week, so that's where Lauren is today. If we could please move down in our agendas to item D2.3, the 2025 audited financial statements. Yeah, sure.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Council. On behalf of the Audit Committee, I am pleased to present the audited County Council financials together with KPMG. And with that, we'll turn it over and go through the file.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay, so I'll start first with the independent auditor's report. So I did meet with the audit committee yesterday to present our audit findings. Subject to council's approval of the financial statements today, we are prepared to issue an unmodified, or otherwise known as a clean audit opinion over the financial statements. Jumping to the statement of financial position on page 1. Further down. Okay, so looking at your financial assets increased by $872,000 over the prior year. There was an increase in cash of $4.9 million. This was a result of positive cash flows from operations of $13.9 million. Cash flows from investing were also positive, and this was partially offset by negative cash flows from capital activities, which related to purchases of tangible capital assets, as well as negative cash flows for financing activities just due to debt repayment. Trade and other receivables decreased by about $3.4 million, primarily just due to a decrease in the GST and grants receivable at year end. The increase you're seeing in restricted cash relates simply to the fact that there was an increase in your deferred revenue at the end of the year, and therefore the related cash is restricted for that. Financial liabilities increased by $1.1 million. Most significant changes were seen in accounts payable and deferred revenue, as well as, and then an offsetting decrease in debt due to debt repayment. Your net financial assets decreased from $17.2 million in 2024 to $16.9 million. Non-financial assets, the major component here being tangible capital assets. There was a $7.3 million increase in the net book value here. This is a function of capital additions of $10.8 million, contributed capital assets of $5.5 million, amortization expense of $8.4 million, as well as some asset disposals of about $650,000. Your non-financial assets at December 31st, 2025 were $148 million, up from $140 million in the prior year, and your accumulated surplus was at $165 million. I'll move next to the statement of operations. So total operating revenue decreased by about $942,000 over the prior year. Most significant changes were seen in property tax revenue and sales and other user charges, then decreases in return on investments and some other grants that were sitting in other revenue last year. Total expenses increased by $1.7 million. Most significant increases were seen in general administration and road, streets, walks, and lighting. Your deficiency of revenue over expenses before capital items was $823,000. Once you factor in your capital revenue, such as deferred lease payments, government transfers for capital, and contributed capital assets, you had a surplus of $7.8 million for the year. I will now jump to the notes to the financial statements, just highlighting a couple of them. So the first being note 1, your significant accounting policies. Just noting that the policies of the county are consistent with prior years, so no changes there to policies. Note 2 to the financial statements highlights some upcoming accounting standard changes. This will impact the presentation of the financial statements moving forward. This will impact the financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2027. So still a couple of years away from that, but there will be some significant changes we'll see then. Moving to note 12, accumulated surplus on page 19. So this shows you the breakdown of accumulated surplus at the end of the year. The unrestricted balance being nil. You have restricted surplus of $40 million, and then equity and tangible capital assets of $125 million. Equity and tangible capital assets represents the net book value of your capital assets, less any debt related to them. And then the final item that I'll highlight is just Schedule 5, which is your schedule of expenses by object. So you can see here the most significant changes in expenses by object related to salaries, wages, and benefits, contracted and general services, and then amortization of tangible capital assets increased, a non-cash expense, but this is directly tied to the increase in your capital assets due to acquisitions during the year. And that concludes my presentation of the financial statements.
Thank you very much. Cole, Haley, anyone have anything they wanted to add?
I just wanted to recognize the team and specifically Patrick for all the work that was done in pulling all of this information together, and just thanks to KPMG for helping us get through all of that as well. So, yeah.
Thanks, Haley. Thanks, Patrick. Okay. You're good?
I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay, I'll open it up then. Any questions? Seeing none, how'd you like to proceed? John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that council approve the transfer of $365,966. Is that the correct number? Okay. From the tax equalization reserve to offset the unrestricted surplus deficit.
Thank you, John. John has moved the recommendation that council approves the transfer of $365,966 from the tax equalization reserve to offset the unrestricted surplus deficit. Is there any discussion? I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move the council approve the audited financial statements for the fiscal year ended December 31st, 2025, as presented by KPMG LLP.
Thank you, Mark. Mark has moved that council approve the audited financial statements for the fiscal year ended December 31st, 2025, as presented by KPMG LLP. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of the audit committee, we thank you for preparing our statements and look forward to doing it again.
I know, yeah. Yeah. Thanks, sir. Why don't we move back up top then in our agenda? Department reports D1, Development and Infrastructure, D1.1, Bylaw 26-001,
Tori,
amendment.
Can we just take a
Oh, sorry.
5-minute break so we can get financial statements signed,
Yeah.
please? Sorry.
Why don't we take a 5-minute break? Thank you. Let's move in our agendas. D1, Development and Infrastructure. D1.1, Bylaw 26-001, Amendment to the Land Use Bylaw to redesignate 10501 Range Road 220. Morning, Caitlin.
Good morning, Mr. Reeve and Council. So Bylaw 26-001 is a amendment to our land use bylaw for the property 105071 Range Road 220. I'll just pull up a map here for everyone. This is the map. So it's right adjacent to Highway 25. The property has a single detached dwelling and a few accessory structures presently. The purpose of the redesignation from rural agriculture to direct control is to support a new social care facility for a new organization that's establishing in Lethbridge County called the Cavana organization. Their intention is to provide day-to-day day programming for young adults, as well as opportunity for respite care long-term. The organization really sees this property as an opportunity to start out their services. So the direct control is the recommended approach just based on the specific parameters that we need to set for the use that's being proposed. So there is considerations in the direct control bylaw for maximizing a maximum number of social care patrons at one time for day programming, the maximum number of clients that can stay in supportive housing overnight, and the maximum number of single day events. And really, the events are related to the agricultural use of the property. They want the users and patrons to be able to do chickens, eggs, and sell those to the community and have that community interaction with the patrons of the social care program. So in circulation of this application, administration did initially have a few concerns related to emergency access, and those actually have been resolved by the applicant. They did provide a fire swept analysis for on-site, which will provide us sufficient emergency services access. And then Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors advised that a permit would be required just due to the proximity to the highway. There will be no access onto the highway, but they still will require a permit at the time of development permit. In terms of consultation, the county did issue a formal notice by mail back in December when we did receive the application. We did not receive any objections for the change of use. There was one comment received related to the impact of minimum distance separations for NRCB, but I clarified that with the inquiry because this is actually not changing minimum distances because it is a house today and will continue to be a house. So that being said, Council, I am recommending that Bylaw 26-001 be read for a first time in order for administration to schedule the public hearing. Is there any questions?
Caitlin, open up to council. Eric, and then Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As this is our first reading, we can ask further questions when it comes to public hearing. So I'd like to move that bylaw 26-001 be read a first time.
Thanks, Eric. Did you have any? Okay. Eric has moved the recommendation that bylaw 26-001 be read for a first time. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you, Eric. D1.2, bylaw 26-004, road closure, consolidation, and sale, Township Road 10-4. Kaylin.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve and Council. So bylaw 26-004 is a road closure application requesting to close and consolidate, sell the property, which is Township Road 10-4. I'll just pull up a map for everyone. So it's this yellow area highlighted on the map. This application was received by Barbara Stewart, and it's specifically closing 5.35 acres of undeveloped road allowance. The applicant identified the rationale to supporting the request based on the family licensing the land for many years. They actually maintain the gravel lane. The undeveloped road allowance accesses the river, but from their perspective, the slope of the coulee is actually not practical to access from the public. And there is one parcel owned by the White Lake Colony, and they have indicated support for this application. So, as you know, road allowance leases are actually expiring as of April 30th, 2026, under the Policy 109 for undeveloped road allowances, and that's led to the applicant applying for this road closure. So the application has been circulated throughout internal departments as well as Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors. I myself was very clear with the applicant throughout the process that support for this application is uncertain and likely would not be able to support it given the state of the property lines. So when I say that, there is 5 parcels currently accessing this undeveloped road allowance if we do not include the White Lake Colony parcel. One of the parcels is actually owned by the province. So the applicant has a grazing lease on it, but they do not own the property. So if we look at our road closure policy, this does not meet the intent of what council should consider an appropriate road closure because the properties would not have legal access if we close this road. The municipality has no authority over controlling private ownership, and so although all the titles are currently owned or leased by this individual, administration could not guarantee that over a long-term period. So on that basis, internal departments do not support the proposed road closure as it does not we would not be able to adequately provide access to all of the parcels, which one is provincially owned. Although they are under a common ownership today, Lethbridge County has to evaluate road closure applications from a long-term land use and access perspective. And then emergency access needs to be considered because there is a house on this parcel, And if this road was closed, technically emergency services would not have legal public access to that home. ATEC responded initially not supporting the road closure for sale and consolidation. They also indicated not supporting, just on the basis of future subdivision and development landlocking considerations that I've spoken to. But ATEC did consider that they would be amendable for the application if it was road closure for lease purposes. That does not change administration's position, because for lease does not change the concerns for landlocking parcels. So on that basis, administration has recommended before you that we refuse the first reading of bylaw 26-004, and I am here for questions.
Thank you, Kaylin. I'd open it up to council for any discussion or questions. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I went down with this resident and she kind of showed me everything in her property here. Yeah, the road basically stops at the end of the acreage there, and then there's nothing. It's just grass and you cannot get down to the river. So she also has I think she said she owned this land since the 1800s in her family. So they have, I think it's, yeah, a little cemetery kind of thing there, with all family members buried. So that's why she would like this road closed, just so that it doesn't, nothing ever can happen to that, right? I think eventually she'd like to sell the property, this and this and this. So this, it's hard for me because I get her as my neighbor, right? And then council. If these pieces here were all amalgamated into one on each side of the road, so you got two different titles, would that change anything?
Thank you, Councillor Slomp through the Reeve. It wouldn't change anything because one of the parcels is owned by the Crown. Unfortunately, they are not the only landowner being impacted.
Okay, thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Which parcel is Crown?
So southwest 2910, 24 west of the 4.
Oh,
is
okay,
parcel.
so, yeah, so there would be no possible way of amalgamating that to the title immediately to the east because it's a different ownership?
Yeah.
Okay, understand. Thank you.
Go ahead, Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this was brought on because the leases are expiring. With that expiring, what's going to happen to that current stretch of road that the landowner developed? How is that supposed to proceed under our new bylaw?
Thank you, Councillor Van Essen, through the chair. So under our current policy 109, the landowner is using the undeveloped road allowance, and they can complete the registration form to continue to use the road allowance for agricultural purposes / literally access to their parcel. They do have support from White Lake Colony for their use of the road allowance, so it would be a very simple process of filling out the 2-page form and signing it, and they would no longer have to actually pay for the lease. So it would be a simple process. It doesn't give them the long-term assurance that, like Councillor Slump was speaking to, that they want to secure the land for their family. But it does continue to allow them to have access to their home and use the land. They cannot restrict public access. As you know, for an undeveloped road allowance, it's not closed. So that would be the significant difference, in that people could, by pedestrian mode, walking through the road allowance, walk directly to the coulee.
Thank you. So with it being categorized as undeveloped road, we also, as a municipality, would currently have the authority to develop it into a road, should we find the need or the desire.
Yes, that is correct, Councillor Van Essen. Say a property wanted to develop or subdivide, the road could be developed, or operations could decide that access is needed and develop the road, because the land is there dedicated and owned by the Crown.
Thank you. One of the comments is that the Crown land would become inaccessible. Does the Crown always have to have an access of a road right away?
So the Crown land should be treated just no different than any other privately owned parcel. because some crown parcels are used for parks and recreation purposes that the public have a right to access. Other crown parcels are used for grazing leases. So the county can't look at this from a land ownership perspective. Really, we should be looking at it as a parcel to parcel. And any parcel can change ownership any day. You have a legal right to sell any one of your parcels, and so does the crown.
Okay, thank you. Then the one other one was about the emergency access. How would this be different from having a long personal driveway? If they went 100 feet north and put their own driveway and got permissions, if they owned that in its entirety versus having a personal driveway, what differentiates the two?
Yeah, so I would say in today's state of where municipal bylaws and obligations are required for access, this house could not develop on an island like it is today. So we have a lot of parcels in the county that exist like this, and we work with the landowners, so they have obviously permission to have a long private driveway access. The concern is if you close the undeveloped road allowance, technically speaking, as of Range Road 244, emergency services would be accessing private property. And so if that access was not maintained to a suitable condition, emergency services would not be able to get to that house. Right now it is still public all the way to their property, lining their property. So even if they can't get on the property, they're at least in close vicinity and they're still on public property. So it doesn't alleviate the concern that the access may not be maintained. Like, this driveway is definitely always a risk because it is privately maintained
Right,
either way. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking is like, so if we're going to be worrying about that liability, then we could say that the county actually, by closing it, or by maintaining it, then before you know it, we have to actually develop it into a gravel road. If we're gonna say, well, we've granted you this access, now it starts to fall on our shoulders again.
Do you want to speak to that, or?
Yeah, sure. To Councillor Vanessa through the chair, I don't know specifically on that. I take that back to our team in terms of responsibility to develop what's considered an undeveloped right-of-way. But I think right now that's a grandfathered property, like Kaylin mentioned, that moving forward, that we're trying to avoid adding houses in locations like this for that exact reason, because we do have sort of these island roads, in air quotes roads, that private individuals are maintained to access only their property. So we'd have to look at that in further detail.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just looking at this thing on a holistic view, and there's obviously a lot of negatives involved with this discussion, but looking at it from a positive viewpoint, the changes in our road right-of-way that's coming forth, the only change that would happen for this particular property would be that they would have no ability to restrict pedestrian access on the road allowance specifically only, right? If I'm understanding that correctly.
Thank you, Councillor Curvis, through the chair. So prior to passing of Policy 109, nobody had any right to restrict public access. That is always in the Municipal Government Act and has always existed. The change of council and the policy that we set last fall is purely that you don't have to enter a lease anymore, and we consistently need to apply the undeveloped road allowance policy. So the obligation to provide public access always existed. It's the fact that this applicant recognizes they don't want public access, so the only avenue they had was a road closure.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But to be clear on that, the public access would be only pedestrian access only.
Yes.
And would be restricted to the 66 feet of the road allowance. If somebody on the off chance decided to drive down this road and find there is a public road allowance down to the river, they would have to maintain pedestrian traffic only on that 66 feet. Nothing else with the way that she's been living her life and existing in terms of the agricultural operations in the area and her residential occupation would change at all at this point.
Yes, you are
Okay.
correct, yeah.
And one more, if I can indulge council. At some point or another, if the Crown land came up for sale, would it be a safe assumption to say that the adjacent landowners would certainly have a right to put in an offer and purchase that property at that point in time?
Councillor Curvis, through the chair, yes. If a parcel of Crown was put for sale, it would be posted through Alberta Purchasing Connection, same land disposition policies that the county goes through as a public organization, and every landowner, Alberta resident, would have an opportunity to put in a submission.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And at a future date, if that was put into her possession and her name, and she wanted to amalgamate all those parcels into one, then that may change the position in the sense of access, correct? May.
Potentially, like, I can't speculate on future applications. There's a lot of nuances to the risk of closing roads. Technically speaking, if they were willing to amalgamate all of the parcels, then some of the concerns of the county would be alleviated. That being said, I have heard from Alberta land titles that a section can actually be divided into quarters without coming to the county for subdivision application. So when we're looking at these road closures, we actually have to be looking at it from a quarter perspective, even if it's a section existing.
Fair enough.
So that information is just to keep in back of mind when we're looking at these.
Okay, all right. And the only reason I mention it is just, are there other potential solutions for this particular landowner? And just kind of wanted to get it out there in public. I understand her concerns, but her use of the land and enjoyment of it is really not changing with the changing of our road allowance bylaw.
Correct.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman there. Just a question on that Crown land there. Currently, she's got a lease agreement with them for grazing. Does that property have any other access if she doesn't have that grazing lease in place? Somebody else does.
Yes, Councillor Ankerman, through the chair. So if this property was leased by somebody else, the only way they would be able to access it is through this undeveloped road allowance, is hence why we need to maintain it. I do understand from the applicant that they are obligated to allow public access to that leased Crown land. So she, under her lease agreement, is required to allow the public to access that parcel, in addition to the county's requirement to allow the public through the undeveloped road allowance.
Any other questions? How would you like to proceed? Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess based on the information we've been provided by administration, I would move to accept the recommendation presented to us today on bylaw 26-004. Refuse first reading.
Thank you, Mark. Mark has moved the recommendation to refuse first reading of bylaw 26-004. Is there any further discussion? I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you. Thank you, Kaylin. D2 Corporate Services, D2.1, bylaw 26-00, or sorry, 26-011, the 2026 Business Tax Bylaw. Good morning, Haley.
So as per the Municipal Government Act, business tax bylaw must be passed annually before May 1st of each year, in which the bylaw is to be implemented.
Thank you, Haley. I'd open up to council for any questions or discussion. John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move that bylaw 26-011, being the 2026 business tax bylaw, be read a first time.
Thank you, John. John has moved the recommendation that bylaw 26-011 be the 2026 business tax bylaw be read for a first time. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that bylaw 26-011, being the 2026 business tax bylaw, be read a second time.
Thank you, Mark. Mark has moved the bylaw 26-011, being the 2026 business tax bylaw, be read for a second time. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd move that bylaw 26-011, being the 2026 business tax bylaw, be considered for third reading.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin has moved the recommendation that that bylaw 26-011, being the 2026 business tax bylaw, be considered for third reading. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carries unanimously. And finally, Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that bylaw 26-011, being the 2026 business tax bylaw, be read a third time.
Thank you, Eric. Eric has moved that bylaw 26-011, being the 2026 business tax bylaw, be read a third time. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That carries. We can then move down to item D2.2, the bylaw 26-012, the 2026 business tax rate bylaw. Haley.
Thank you. So as per the Municipal Government Act, business tax rate bylaw must be passed annually following the approval of the budget and the passing of the business tax bylaw, which identifies the purpose and details of the business tax and the authority to levy the tax. The business tax rate bylaw has been prepared for 2026 with a 2% increase from 2025, increasing it from $2.60 to $2.65. I will note in the under the alternatives, it references an old rate, so that the proposed rate for council's consideration is the $2.65.
Thank you, Haley. Any questions? Discussion? How would you like to proceed? John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that bylaw 26-012, being the 2026 business tax rate bylaw, be read a first time.
Thank you, John. John has moved the recommendation that bylaw 26-012, being the 2026 business tax rate bylaw, be read for a first time. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd move that bylaw 26-012, being the 2026 business tax rate bylaw, be read a second time.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin has moved that bylaw 26-012, being the 2026 business tax rate bylaw, be read for a second time. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Consideration. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that bylaw 26-012, being the 2026 business tax rate bylaw, be considered for a third reading.
Thank you, Mark. Mark has moved that bylaw 26-012, being the 2026 business tax rate bylaw, be considered for third reading. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. And third reading. Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that bylaw 26-012 be read, the business tax bylaw be read the third time.
Thank you, Tony. Tony has moved the bylaw 26-012, being the 2026 business tax rate bylaw, be read for a third time. Is there any discussion? I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you, Haley. Go ahead, Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we just passed this bylaw, and we put a very, I can call it very modest increase onto it. and I think it is fairly well accepted by the industry. But my question actually is to administration. In the past, we've talked about auditing the numbers. We've talked about talking to the NRCB, and I'd like a little update if we're getting any update on the permitting numbers and such. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Van Essen. So this one, we've had conversations with the NRCB. Right now, we're struggling just to get the information exported for us, like just raw numbers. We've received some feedback from the NRCB that they're short-staffed. We were just looking for even the mass download of permit numbers so that we could process some things internally. We have reached out to Minister Hunter to see if he could help support us with some of these requests to get this and streamline that workflow. It's extremely manual for our team and for assessment. So we're working through it. I think this is a more complicated question, if I'm understanding, and you might have to just clarify. So we have a couple streams right now. We're struggling to get the raw permit numbers from NRCB for each of the CFOs to help streamline that assessment. As far as third-party verification, we have not had any further conversations with the NRCB in the last couple of years around how that's being managed. I know about 2 years ago we had a lot more complaints around the amount of permits issued for a CFO and the amount of livestock in that particular CFO. I believe it was around 2 years ago the NRCB had talked about doing flyovers or something else, and that they were going to confirm some of these things. I think the complexity in the permit numbers is that it's actually not based on headcount. It's based on manure production. And so it's a little more difficult. So you might have a headcount of 75,000 or a permit for 75,000. You could, in fact, have significantly more cattle in that CFO depending on what type of cows they are. And so I think that makes that a little bit more harder. That makes it more difficult to monitor. We have decided that that is an NRCB jurisdiction. We're going to administer based on the permit numbers that we do have access to. They've made it increasingly difficult to get access and clarity to that where it's not administratively burdensome for us. So we're working through that side of the equation. But if you're talking about the actual, like, is it being reviewed and audited? I can't speak to how the NRCB is monitoring that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, that's exactly, you answered it exactly what I was wondering, is that that the NRCB is working with us and that we're getting updated information. So thank you.
Some of the comments that Ryan and I received as part of our conversations with the Intensive Livestock Working Group is some cuts at NRCB have also hampered them in their ability to carry out their day-to-day work. I believe that there has been some significant belt tightening there, and just some of the anecdotal comments where their ability to do what they're currently doing is becoming difficult, let alone go above and beyond that. So in our work with the working group, just talking about maybe expanding upon the relationship and what other avenues could we proceed down, just that was a cautionary tale, that just the stress they're under from a pure person power budget perspective. Is that fair, Ryan?
Yes, Councillor Reeve, that's correct.
Thank you. Anything else on that one? If not, that takes us to 9:50. Why don't we take a 10-minute recess? I'm ready whenever you are, Candace. Thank you. We'll call the meeting back to order at 10:01 this morning. Moving our agenda is D31, the 2026 Stirling Wind Benefit Project Funding Allocations. Candace?
Good morning, Council. In 2023, Lethbridge County was approached by Potential Renewable Inc. to participate in community funding through the Stirling Wind Project, which is an initiative developed as part of the company's community relations commitment to reinvest in areas where they have wind turbine rights. Council formally approved the associated agreement on September 21st, 2023. Under this agreement, Lethbridge County's 14 turbines generate an annual community contribution. For 2026, the total contribution is $15,217. 40% of that, so $6,886, is designated for open allocation, and the fixed allocation of $5,131 plus $4,000 for the scholarships supports the environmental education and community assistance programs. And scholarships are obviously administered separately. During our review period, it was identified that $10,262 in fixed allocation funds from 2024 and 2025 had not been directed towards eligible programs as intended. So these funds remain available to carry forward to the 26 allocation, so for a total of $50,393. So Potential Renewables has confirmed that the unused fixed allocations from 2024 should be distributed in 2026. They've recommended the following for the fixed allocation portion. So fixed allocation portion includes environmental education, community assistance, and the scholarships. So for the environmental education portion, they're suggesting that we provide Pitcher Butte High School $6,000 and John Davidson High School $6,000. Both of those schools provide applications for this program this year. The community assistance programs for programs like NCSS, and we've allocated $3,393 for them. For the open portion, we received 13 applications. They have suggested that we fund 5. The following 5 are Jam for Jacks, which is a skate jam. Pitcher Butte Fish and Game Association for their youth camp. Interfaith Food Bank Society of Lethbridge for their Interfaith Learning Garden. Another one for the Pitcher Butte Fish and Game Association for their junior archery tournament. And to the Times Association for the 2026 Father Daughter Ball, which apparently a lot of county residents attend. They're recommending that we provide each of those 5 organizations $1,217.36. All of these are recommendations by Potential. Council does have the option to either change who receives the amounts or the amounts that they receive.
Thank you, Candace. I would open it up for any questions from council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I very much appreciate that Potentia has this program and is committed to giving back to the communities in which they actually operate some of their solar and wind projects. I guess it's just wind projects for us, right? So, and all that being said, I would like to, you want these in separate?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I would like to move the first recommendation. The County Council approve the Stirling Wind Project Community Benefit Fund open allocation in the amount of $6,086.80 distributed to the following recipients. Jam for Jacks at $1,217.36. Pitcher Butte Fish and Game Association at $1,217.36. Interfaith Food Bank Society of Lethbridge for $1,217.36, and I realize there's probably a better way of doing this. Pitcher Butte Fish and Game Association again for $1,217.36, and the Time Society for $1,217.36.
Thank you, John. John has made the recommendation that council approve the Stirling Wind Project Community Benefit Fund open allocation in the amount of $6,086.80 distributed to the following recipients, as John mentioned. Is there any further discussion on this motion? If not, I will call the question. Those in favor? Those opposed? That carries. Kevin? Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd move that County Council approve the Stirling Wind Project Community Benefit Fund fixed allocation in the amount of $15,393 distributed to the following recipients. Picture Butte High School for $6,000, John Davidson School $6,000, FCSS for $3,393.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin has moved that County Council further approve the Stirling Wind Project Community Benefit Fund fixed allocation in the amount of $15,393 distributed to the following recipients. Pitch Butte High School for $6,000, John Davidson School for $6,000, and FCSS for $3,393. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Candace. On that one, Candace, then we are now current with both
Yes.
streams on that now?
So next year's funding will just be the 15,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Moving down, D3 to 2026 Calgary Stampede BMO Farm Family Awards.
The Calgary Stampede BMO Farm Family Awards presentation is taking place on Monday, July 6th as part of the Stampede festivities. An invitation has come from the organization for county representation to attend the event. Historically, council has made a motion to have the counselor from the division of the winner of the farm family attend this event. However, it can be a different counselor if need be. This year's nominee is the Rod
Shade.
Thank you family, who lives in Division 1.
Thank you, Candace. Lauren.
Has anybody spoken to Lauren as to whether he wishes to attend?
We have not.
Can we make just a generic?
For a counselor?
A counselor and guest, yeah, I think, okay. You know, in the absence of Councillor Hickey not being here and it being his division, which traditionally that's who has attended, I would like to move that County Council authorize a counselor to be named later and a guest of their choice to represent Lethbridge County at the 2026 BMO Farm Family Awards scheduled for July 6, 2026. I'd also encourage anybody that hasn't gone, if Councillor Hickey is not able or willing to do, definitely put your name in the hat and attend. It's a wonderful event, and BMO does a very good job of honoring these farm families and highlighting what they've done to move forward agriculture in the province and our community.
Because this representation has to be submitted by April 27th, is it possible that we determine who might attend in Lauren's place if Lauren does not want to go? Because that is before our next meeting.
I would, yeah, but I know Lauren and the family are close, so I'm feeling relatively confident that he will, but given that if there is a conflict or he chooses not to, is there someone here that would be interested in attending? Like John said, it is a nice event. Yeah. Okay. Does that work then, Candace?
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
No, that's fine.
So John has moved that County Council allow one counselor and their guest of their choice to represent Lethbridge County at the 2026 BMO Farm Family Awards scheduled for July 6, 2026. Any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you. And moving down, D3.3, the FCM Conference 2026.
I just added this today to gauge councils if they want to be attending FCM this year. It's June 4th to 7th in Edmonton. It's $1,200 per person plus hotels. But we will need to know ASAP if anybody wants to attend, because hotels will fill up fast and registration early bird ends on April 23rd, and after that the tickets are quite pricey. June 4th to the 7th. We've looked at the preliminary agenda,
Yeah, there was one item on the agenda that was tangentially rural. I did have a conversation with the RMA. They're gonna have a similar, kind of networking event that they had, and did say that if we attended, they would put you guys to work, but if we weren't, there's lots of other local communities. I know a lot are opting not to attend, even though it is in Edmonton and it's more of an ideal location. The agenda just doesn't have a lot pertaining to us, so it's totally council's discretion. I think it's 6-1. I think that it's not that it necessarily is a bad event, even without the agenda. I think some of the connections and things might be good. I wish there was something more concrete on the federal government's presence there for what I saw in the preliminary agenda, but because I think that could maybe influence council's decision, but I don't know what that is. I don't know if the Prime Minister is speaking. Yeah, that's kind of all we know right now.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, with that in mind, that limited rural connection, and also together with the costs, I'd like to recommend that we do not attend.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was actually just going to make a motion to the contrary, that if anybody wishes to attend, that they are able to. Personally, I don't see a significant value in attending, but I wouldn't want to limit that from any other councillors that did see value and did decide that they wanted to attend.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree with Councillor Van Essen. We don't send anybody. I think it's, if there was value, I know in the past when it was in Calgary we did, but there was some other events we were tied to, but this agenda doesn't appear to be sort of related to rural, so I would support Councillor Van Essen and not support sending anyone.
Any other thoughts? I know when Cole reached out to me earlier this week and just kind of where I was at on this, and I definitely have mixed feelings. I think it's, on the one hand, it's in Alberta, and that's your second best chance to be close to home, second to Calgary. I've attended in Calgary, Regina, and Quebec City, and I would say Quebec City in 2018, I believe, was by far the most valuable. There was the Prime Minister and every federal leader spoke at length. There was an opportunity to secure meetings. We had a meeting with a deputy in, I believe, an infrastructure department, and there was actually quite a few members of the federal government present, both in power and opposition. And then I would say that my experience since then hasn't been as great as far as being able to connect with high-level government officials. I don't believe that was the case in Regina or Calgary. RMA did a very nice event in Calgary. It was a good social opportunity to meet and greet people. Outside of that, from the actual agenda, I didn't see a ton of value, but I think my comment to Cole was, I would encourage council. I'm a little conflicted because I do agree with Eric, but I also agree that as a councillor, if you're looking at a 4-year term, it is one of those things that I think is pretty unique in the ability to go there and talk to people from across the country and what are your challenges and what are your opportunities, and you learn very quick that a small rural in New Brunswick or PEI has very similar challenges to us. I don't know if that makes it anything more solvable or achievable, but it is a unique experience, and you probably won't have an experience to do that in Alberta anytime soon. So just food for thought, but I can support Eric, or if John, if you'd like to make that motion to attend, I would open up to council for however you'd like to proceed.
Yeah, I would like to make the motion that any councillor that wishes to attend be allowed to attend.
Okay.
And obviously let administration know as soon as possible.
Okay. So John has moved to allow any member of council wishing to do so to attend the 2026 FCM Conference in Edmonton. Is that fair, John? Okay.
I can't stress enough to please let me know as soon as possible, because hotels are going to be tricky.
Okay.
Please, thank you.
Thank you, Candace. Any further discussion? John has moved to allow any member of council wishing to attend the 2026 FCM Conference in Edmonton to do so. Call question. Those in favor? Those opposed? That's a tie, so that is defeated. Thank you. Moving down, we have a number of pieces of correspondence for today. Oh boy. Number one, the Lethbridge Coaldale 4-H Beef Club and Warner Beef Club Country Classic Show and Sale. To whom it may concern, the Lethbridge Coaldale 4-H Beef Club and the Warner Beef Club are proud to announce our second annual joint event, the Country Classic Show and Sale, taking place on June 6, 2026 at Perlich Brothers Auction Market. As you can see, all the details there. They are currently seeking sponsorship and support from local businesses and community members. Again, asking for sponsorship and sponsor your name will be announced multiple times during the show and displayed prominently. If there's interest, reach out to Kim Daniels. So this is in our, just talking with Candace, we've kind of shifted our approach. Rather than making this a request for funding, we've added them to correspondence because they do not meet the criteria of our donations policy, so they show up in correspondence. So from this, you are more than willing or more than able to take this in whatever direction you see fit, but this is our way of making council aware that we have received these letters. Is there any discussion on the first item? Okay, and then I will move down then to the Chinook Equipment grand opening. Good afternoon, Tori. Mike here with Chinook Equipment. I would like to personally invite you to Chinook Equipment's grand opening Friday, May 2nd, 1 to 4. So as you can see with the invite, Chinook is doing their grand opening in the Frontier Business Park. That is the date. If you are interested in attending, you can connect with Candace and we can RSVP if you are so inclined. Moving down, item 3, the Schizophrenia Society of Alberta, Strides of Hope. Thank you for helping raise awareness and reduce stigma around schizophrenia. Below are some helpful tips and sample messages to guide your social media posts as we honor World Schizophrenia Day on May 24th and host our Strides of Hope Walk on May 22nd. So you can see all that information there before you. Moving down again, item 4, Big Brothers Big Sisters McHappy Day. I'm inviting you to participate in the upcoming 32nd McHappy Day taking place on Wednesday, May 6th at the Coaldale McDonald's location. McHappy Day is McDonald's Canada's longest running and largest charitable initiative. Big Brothers Big Sisters is proud to be the Coaldale McHappy Day recipient with 75% of proceeds supporting local mentorship programs and 25% supporting RMH Alberta. So thank you for your consideration. There's a contact for more information there if you are interested in participating in McHappy Day. Item 5, the 2026 Tim Hortons Smile Cookie Campaign, BEW, Barron's Eureka Warner, FCSS. So there's been a bit of back and forth. Unfortunately, our strat planning conflicts with the opening kickoff, but I have been in contact with Zach at FCSS working back and forth, and they have suggested potentially a time on Thursday or Friday for a group of county representatives, if we're so able, to come in and decorate cookies. So I would ask if there's interest on either the Thursday or Friday, if we can have some consensus there and connect with Zach and Becky and make an effort to go out to Coaldale and support the Smile Cookie campaign. They're again doing a battle of Tabor versus Coaldale with the MD and the town of Tabor versus ourselves and the town of Coaldale. Zach also, speaking to him yesterday, suggested that we invite and include any other members. I know Councillor and Mayor from Colehurst have said they've been interested, so we will connect with them as well. Is there interest or availability on Thursday or Friday from members of council if we set something up to go out there and decorate some cookies? Thursday, Friday, do we have a day that works better? Okay, we'll pick one and go from there. Cool, thank you. Number 6, the ASB Summer Tour, Wheatland County, July 14th to 16th. So you have the details before you of the tour, an itinerary. tour summary. Yeah. Candace, what do we need anything coming out of this?
No, just if anybody wants to attend this tour, just let me know, and if they're planning on spending the evening or the night in Wheatland County, I'll also need to know that so I can get them a room.
Okay, thank you. Item 7, Green Acres Foundation. So this is from Chair Lauren Hickey. On behalf of the Green Acres Foundation, please be advised the foundation is the final planning stage to rebuild Miami Lodge located in Pitcher Butte. The project is being partially funded. I'm okay to share this, right? This is all public? Okay. Okay, this is all public. Okay. 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 Planning stage to rebuild Miami Lodge located in Pitcher Butte. The project is being partially funded through the recently announced Provincial Lodge Modernization Grant, $5.8 million, and a $3.5 million grant through CMHC. In addition, the town of Pitcher Butte is also providing monetary support. The Board of Directors of Green Acres Foundation is funding $17.7 million towards the rebuild project. To proceed with our financial commitment, Green Acres Foundation is required to secure $9 million in external financing. The Alberta Housing Act and Management Body Operations and Administration Regulation states, and then you can read the regulations there. Our request to the Minister for approval to borrow $9 million for the Miami Lodge and rebuild project requires a letter from each of our member municipalities. We request a letter of support from Lethbridge County. So this is where the ask comes in. Require a letter of support from Lethbridge County. Lethbridge County supports the proposal of Green Acres Foundation to borrow up to $9 million for the $27 million capital project. Lethbridge County understands the request for $9 million is external financing requiring ministerial approval, and Lethbridge County acknowledges that under the Alberta Housing Act, member municipalities continue to be requisitioned to fund operating costs of senior lodging facilities. Please know that Green Acres Foundation is in good financial standing, and your municipality will not be registered on any external financing. So there is a request here for a letter of support. So I would open that up to council for any questions or discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So while this is routine and I believe something we wholeheartedly support, what does this do for our liability on putting out such a letter?
Thank you, Councillor Van Essen. We do this lots, and I think it would essentially be that with increased costs of operating or assuming the operations of whatever they build, that directly translates to their budget bottom line, that translates to a requisition. So our liability is not the loan amount. Our liability is that we support them with this project, knowing that it will be the regional ratepayers that effectively pay for it. Having said that, I think this is long overdue. I think it's difficult, and I'm not getting into maybe the financials, and I can't tell you exactly what it translates to or what the bottom line requisition impact is. I think this is something that we've supported them on in the past and advocated for. I think that seeing it go forward is in our best interest. We've done a lot of advocacy with the province around support for seniors in the region. We have a aging population that far exceeds, statistically at least, the representation of that same population across the province. So from an administration side, I do think it is a net positive for Lethbridge County. Dollar and cents, I don't know what that directly translates to.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to move that we provide a letter of support to Green Acres Foundation for their attempts to borrow the money in a format that is supportive and works within the parameters that they requested.
Thank you, John. John has moved to provide a letter of support to Green Acres Foundation as requested. Is there any further conversation? I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That carries. And item 8, Halo Air Ambulance. On behalf of Halo Air Ambulance, I'm pleased to invite you to attend our 3rd annual Flight Up the Night Gala taking place on April 25th, 2026 at the Countryside Barn in Lethbridge County. Special evening brings together community leaders, local businesses, and supporters to celebrate and support the life-saving work Halo provides across Southern Alberta. Guests will enjoy a locally inspired buffet dinner, live entertainment, and an engaging program highlighting the critical emergency air medical services we provide every day. There are tickets available for purchase. If you are so inclined and would like to attend, please talk to Candace and we can arrange. Anything on that one? If not, we'll continue moving down. Item F, County Council and Committee Updates. Starting Division 1, Councillor Lauren Hickey, March 5th, Lethbridge County Council meeting. March 16th, the Chamber of Lethbridge Costco tour. March 18th, Green Acres Executive Meeting and Finance Meeting. 23rd, Economic Development for elected officials. 24th, McNally Community Association Meeting. 25th, the Green Acres Board Meeting. And 31st, supper meeting with the Town of Coaldale. March 5th, Lethbridge County Council meeting. The 5th, sorry, this is for myself, Division 2. March 5th, Rotary Egg Scholarship Dinner. 6th, Mayors and Reeves, attended that virtually. 9th, Rural Road Infrastructure Meeting, the Intensive Livestock Working Group. We're still, so the idea at this point in time is to work with the committee on a number of tools and try and narrow down the number of tools that could possibly be used as levers to help increase municipalities' ability to service rural road infrastructure, primarily roads that are supporting intensive livestock operations. Ryan attended the first meeting. I was unable to. The second meeting, Ryan and I both attended in Mountain View County. And I think overall it's a good learning experience. I think it's good for people across the province and across different producer groups to hear some of the unique challenges, and that maybe a solution that works in Ponoka County probably doesn't work in Lethbridge County. I think one thing that I've been very vocal about is having the concentration of livestock that we do here in Lethbridge County. I think sets us apart in a lot of ways, and I think people can look to us and maybe see some of the lessons that we've learned, both good and bad, and try and move forward in a way that we can all kind of learn and grow. But also acknowledging that there is not going to be a one-size-fits-all. It's going to be a bit piecemeal, and there's going to have to be a lot of tools in that toolbox. So overall, thank you, big thank you to Melody and the group for being so inclusive, and it's been good conversation so far. 18th, attended the Economic Development Lethbridge AGM. 23rd, Economic Development for elected officials. 24th, Council Social at the Town of Coalhurst. 25th, Growing Opportunities Workshop hosted by Lethbridge County. Big thank you to Matthew and the team there for putting that together. 26th, South Crow Economic Development Summit. 31st, the tour at SACE here at Lethbridge Polytechnic. Thank you to Eric and Tony for joining me on that one. Cool to see their facility. 31st, met with Trevor and Cole and members of the team on a prospective investment here in the county. And on the 31st, I showed up very late to a meeting with the town of Coaldale for supper. Division 3, Councillor Mark Sayers. Mark?
Thank you, Reeve Campbell. On March 4th, I attended the FCSS board meeting. 5th, Lethbridge County Council. On the 5th was ORSC board meeting. On the 23rd was Economic Development for elected officials. Missing in my report was the 24th, our dinner meeting with the Town of Coalhurst. 25th was Growing Opportunities Workshop, and on the 31st was the supper meeting with the Town of Coaldale.
Thank you, Mark. Division 4, Deputy Reeve Curvis. John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first 2 weeks of March I was on vacation in Mexico, so on March 16th I attended education program for elected officials course, and March 17th and 18th spring RMA conference in Edmonton. March 19th I had a weekly meeting with the Community Futures Executive Director. March 23rd our economic development for elected officials course here. March 24th, in their council social with the Town of Coalhurst, which was a wonderful event. On the 25th as well, or March 25th, sorry, the Community Futures monthly board meeting. Later on the 25th, I had a meeting with the Prairie's Cran Assistant Deputy Minister. She's the individual that is in charge of all the funding for Community Futures and running that program as well as many others. So we had a very good conversation about the pulse of the economy in the area. March 26th, Southern Alberta Economic Development Summit. On March 30th, we had Commission orientation training. March 31st, we had a Waste Commission rebranding workshop, a supper with the Town of Coaldale, and as well as I had a weekly meeting with the Community Futures Executive Director.
Thank you, John. Division 5, Kevin.
March 5 was Lethbridge County Council meeting. March 5 at night was the Chinook Arch Planning and Facilities Committee meeting. March 16 was the EOEP course up in Edmonton. March 17 to 18 was the RMA Spring Convention. March 23rd, Economic Development for Elected Officials. March 24, Council to Council with the Town of Coalhurst. March 26 was the Streets Alive grand opening. March 30, Commission orientation training. March 31st was the Waste Commission rebranding workshop. And then at night on the 31st was supper with the Town of Coaldale Council.
Division 6, Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. March 5th, council meeting. 12th, Picture Butte Chamber of Commerce. 23rd, Economic Development for Elected Officials. 24th, Council to Council with Coalhurst. 25th, Growing Opportunities Workshop. 31st, Southern Alberta Collegiate Tour. As Reeve stated, a very well done building, and it looks like it has great potential. And so we toured that. And then on the 31st, also supper meeting in Town of Coaldale.
Thanks, Eric. Division 7, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. March 4th, Alberta Sugar Beet Growers AGM. March 5th, the Lethbridge County Council meeting. 16th, the EOEP course in Edmonton. March 17th, 18th, the Spring RMA Convention. 23rd, the Economic Development for Elected Officials. 24th, Council to Council with Coalhurst. 25th, the Growing Opportunities Workshop. 26th, Southern Alberta Economic Development Summit. Later that evening was the Streets Alive grand opening. On the 30th was a Commission orientation training. 31st was the Lethbridge Polytechnic tour, and the 31st was the supper meeting with the Town of Coaldale.
Thank you, Tony. Any questions, comments arising from the committee and council updates? I just want to say thank you to the Town of Coaldale for hosting us on the 31st, and as well as to council from the town of Coaldale on the 31st, and the Town of Coalhurst for hosting us earlier in the month. We're very fortunate to have like-minded councils within our boundaries that want to work together, and it's fun to get together and really look at the opportunities we have. I know yesterday a few of us were in Picture Butte for one of their celebrations, and as were members of the Town of Coaldale, Nobleford, Barons. When we talked about, most of us attended all of us attended the Economic Development for Elected Officials to sit in the same room with, again, some of those people from Coalhurst and north of the river. Really excited about the potential we have to work with people that want to work with us. So I'm grateful and thankful for those people. Thank you. If we move down, closed session, we have 2 items in our closed session today. H1, delegation of authority, ATIA Section 28, local public body confidences, delegation of authority. And item 2, the CAO report from CBEC, ATIA Section 19, 20, 28, and 29. Is there anything else that we need to cover in the public portion of our meeting? If not, I'd entertain a motion to enter a closed session. Kevin? Kevin has moved that we enter a closed session at 10:36 this morning. Any discussion? Call the question. to entertain a motion to come out of a closed session. Sure. John has moved to come out of a closed session at 10:53 this morning. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Carries. We have one item coming out of our closed session regarding item 1, delegation of authority. Entertain a motion. Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
I'd like to move the recommendation that council delegate authority to the senior HR business partner to 1, negotiate, make proposals, and agree to tentative terms at the collective bargaining table. 2, approve settlements within the financial and operational thresholds outlined in Section 5 of this report. 3, execute a memorandum of settlement subject to council ratification of the final collective agreement. And 4, retain external legal counsel and/or professional negotiator as required within the approved budget.
Thank you, Eric. Is there any discussion? Not, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. John?
Motion to adjourn?
There is nothing further. John has moved to adjourn.